Get ready!
The 90s were a pretty weird time. The 5th generation of consoles was released, the rating system was implemented, and 3D graphics were becoming more common. With this, all sorts of genres were going 3D, like fighting games, puzzle games, RPGs, and platformers. While most 3D platformers remembered from this era were on the N64, it wasn't the only console to have them. The PlayStation also had some among its massive library. It was considerably harder to make good platformers for the console since it only had the D-pad and face buttons, but that all changed with the release of the DualShock controller. Oh my gosh. Sony decided to make full use of their exclusive device by developing Ape Escape, which we are going to look at today. Ape Escape 3 is one of my favorite games ever, forever, all time, ever, forever, ever. So I've been looking for the other games for a few years. I was surprised to find the first game in near mint condition for just $10. It's crazy what you can find. Looking at the cover, it actually seems really creepy. You got all these monkeys swinging around, and they look fine, but then there's the kid in the background with the crazy face, and I don't even have a joke to make about him. Looking on the back, it proudly proclaims to be the first and only game that takes full advantage of the DualShock controller. Oh my gosh. Then we got some neat little screenshots and a monkey riding a shark. Okay. So you can tell we're in for a good time, and that feeling only gets stronger as we pop the disc in and the opening plays. If you're not in love with this game yet, then I don't know what to do with you. It sets the tone for one of the weirdest and most energetic games on the original PlayStation, and it never slows down. Even the story sounds like something out of some weird Saturday morning anime, which it actually got. One day, there's this cute little monkey called Spectre, who puts on an experimental peak point, or peepo helmet. He somehow has. I'm not sure why. Who gave him that? The helmet is designed to increase the intelligence of whoever wears it, but when Spectre puts it on, it causes him to turn evil. Of course. So the lesson here is that if there's an evil, super intelligent, talking psychic albino monkey, just try not to have evil, super intelligent, talking psychic albino monkeys. That seems pretty obvious. Okay?
Okay!
Because we all know that all evil, super intelligent, talking psychic albino monkeys will do something to take over the world. Obviously, why would they not? In Spectre's case, he invades the lab of the professor, ties up both him and his assistant Natalie, hijacks his time machine that he somehow knows about, and sends his army of apes to different points in history to reshape the world in their favor. However, a young boy named Spike, is caught in the time machine and go back in time with him.
It works. It actually works.
Professor, I don't think that should be your first priority. How do you even know if it worked? You might have just disintegrated them. Fortunately, that doesn't happen, and Spike is instead transported to somewhere, and it's up to him to travel through time, capture all the monkeys, and save the world. Because if I wanted to save the world from an army of potentially dangerous apes, I'd gladly trust that task to some random 10-year-old. Makes perfect sense. I'm going to be clear here, this story is really silly, but it rolls with it, always being silly and kind of stupid and fun, with simple characters and all sorts of environments to visit on your adventure. On your path to Spectre, you'll travel through 6 different eras, platforming all over the place, catching all the members of his time-altering army. Prehistoric, Cenozoic, Primitive Age, the Ice Age, medieval times, and the present day. But enough about the story, let's talk about the gameplay. Ape Escape is a collectathon 3D platformer, meaning you platform in 3D space to collect things. Crazy, I know. Since platforming is the most important part of a platformer, how do we platform in this game? The X button? I mean, that seems logical. There isn't any room for logic in a game about super intelligent time-traveling monkeys. Here in Ape Escape, you jump with R1. Duh. This game and its sequels have what is probably the most bizarre control scheme in video game history. The only normal parts of the controls are how the left stick is for movement and the start button pauses the game. As advertised on the case, this game was made to take full advantage of the DualShock controller! Oh my gosh. To do this, the right stick, instead of being used for camera control like most games, is used to control the 8 gadgets the professor sends you. There's the time net, which does something. The stun club is used to destroy robots and stun monkeys, giving you an extra second to catch them. The super hoop makes you run super fast while rotating the stick. The monkey radar scans the area to find any apes you haven't caught yet and even let you view them if you're close enough. The water net lets you dive underwater and shoot special nets to capture the monkeys. The sky flyer allows you to reach greater heights and prevent damage from falling, because that's in here. There's also a slingshot and an RC car. He gives you a new gadget every few stages, and they can be set to one of the 4 face buttons to select them quickly. My favorite setup is always time net on triangle, stun club on X, monkey radar on circle, and square for switching out from more situational tools like the RC car or the slingshot. Like I said, this is a collectathon like Super Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie. The main difference is that instead of collecting stationary objects like stars or puzzle pieces or whatever, you're going after something a little more active. And what would Ape Escape be without the apes? I'll tell you. It'd be Esc. Wait, that still stands for escape. Each stage has you collecting a certain number in that stage before warping you back to the main hub to take on the next mission. They'll run away, hide, and usually try and fight back in different ways. What's interesting is that you can actually tell their abilities apart by the color of their pants. Yellow is the most common and will usually go for scratching, tossing banana peels, or even shooting lasers. Light blues tend to hide and don't fight back very often, but they can run away pretty quickly, so you have to be fast in catching them. Dark blues are the fastest monkeys, wearing goggles and special shoes. They also don't fight back very much, but you'll have to stun them first since they run too fast to just use the net. White pant monkeys wear weird glasses and have the highest alertness, but they act the same as yellows. Then, there are the ones that will probably hurt you a lot if you're not careful. Black pant monkeys are dangerous enemies that carry around machine guns and will shoot you on sight. They aren't very hard to dodge if you're watching them, and they become open after a few shots. Red monkeys are even more violent, packing the same machine gun along with some bombs. If you just keep out your club and keep an eye on them, they won't be too much trouble. The worst ones, though, are the ones wearing green pants. These were so hard for me to catch when I was playing. They have goggles to increase their alertness, and their main method of attack is to run away while shooting heat-seeking missiles at you. Heat-seeking missiles. If that wasn't bad enough, they're super hard to dodge unless you run in the other direction, meaning the monkey is farther away and can shoot even more missiles at you. I never found a surefire way to capture them without losing nearly half my health, and I'm not even sure there is one. Just jump like crazy and whack them as soon as possible. I'm just glad there aren't any monkeys with brown pants. I couldn't think of a good segue for this, because I'm lazy, but I'd like to talk about the presentation too. As you can see, this is a PS1 game through and through. Blocky, sharp polygons as far as the eye can see, which isn't very far thanks to 5th gen draw distances. Even if it looks like origami, I still think it looks pretty decent for the time. I mean, I wouldn't say it's on par with something like Final Fantasy VIII, which was released 3 months earlier on the same console, but it has a weird charm that persists to this day. Like I said, it's a very cartoony game. There are bright colors everywhere. There are very simple character designs, and something about it's just kind of charming in a very bizarre Japanese way. Each era is distinct from each other, except for the first 2, which look pretty similar. Even with the first 2 areas being very similar looking jungles, the other eras have you going through beaches, caves, icy tundras, Japanese temples, European castles, and even modern factory buildings. Strangely built factory buildings, but factories nonetheless. Each one of these areas is pretty well designed for the time it came out, I think. I'm not really an expert on level design, but whatever. And they even have a special music track for each level in the game. It's upbeat, energetic, and some tracks can be pretty catchy. Except Crumbling Castle. It's fine for a while, but it's also really, really short. And Crumbling Castle is one of the longest stages in the game. Yeah. Not that great after a while. To make it even worse, I hit a glitch at the door to the castle where I went with the super hoop and got stuck. With the noise still going. 10 out of 10. All of this makes for a fun and unique quest to reach Spectre, whose castle is probably the biggest level in the game. After platforming through everything in my path, using R1 of course, I made it. I reached Spectre, fought against his big robot suit, crushed it, and Well, never mind then. Turns out, in order to beat the game, you have to go through all the stages and capture every monkey. Which, I mean, that makes sense. Gotta catch them all. Wait. So now, I go through catching the rest of the apes I didn't get the first time, and then fight Spectre again. I whack Spectre a few times and finally catch him. Then, I return to the prison, get Spectre back to Monkey Park, and go home. But there's still stuff to do. Along with collecting the 204 monkeys in the game, there are also these big gold coins called Spectre tokens. There are a few hidden in each stage, and pretty well hidden at that. Collecting so many unlocks some interesting mini games to play. First is Ski Kids, where everyone goes to visit the mountains of Parappa the Rapper. Spectre Boxing is Galaxy Monkey is actually pretty great. It's a twin-stick shooter where you take on wave after wave of enemies until you either beat 100 waves or die. I definitely had the most fun with it over the other games. What's weird is that there's 60 Spectre tokens to find in total, but you only need 40 to unlock them all. So I don't know what that's about, but it's something to go after if you want. Ape Escape is a great game that even to this day provides a unique experience for anyone wanting to play it. It's simple and fun and colorful and creative, but not perfect, of course. You can clearly tell it's a game from the 90s, aside from just the graphics. The biggest issue I had with it is ironically due to its biggest selling point, since you control the gadgets with the right analog stick of the DualShock controller. Oh my gosh. There's no easy way to control the camera. That's done with the D-pad, which I didn't mention before. Controlling a camera with a D-pad. Great. I'm sure you can guess that's not easy to do since you need to have your thumb on the analog stick to move Spike. You can tap the L1 button to bring the camera right behind you, but it'll still mess up when you're trying to catch a monkey. It'll usually just zoom straight in on you, and the monkey will jump out of your line of sight. That happens a lot more than it doesn't. One of the worst parts is on the last level, where there are all these floating platforms, and jumping on these rotating hexagonal prisms is hard when the camera won't show you your shadow. Fortunately, there's an infinitely respawning one up here, so it's not that bad. One thing that is bad, however, is the voice acting, which is also probably one of the best parts depending on how you look at it.
No way! I won't be controlled by you!
Spectre, what's going on here?
Everything is under control and coming along very nicely, according to plan.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Also, I found this one monkey I couldn't catch. I don't know what that was about, but I wanted to mention it anyway. Even with those flaws, which I think are more due to the restrictions of the time, I still think Ape Escape is a fantastically imaginative game that's worth looking for if you're into 3D platformers or the PS1. It's got great music, a silly story, fun gameplay, and whatever other compliments I said in this video so far. But it still doesn't top Ape Escape 3 in my opinion. Whoever you are, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.